Welcome to the Midlife Capacity Conversations, Episode 2, Why You've Become So Hard on Yourself. Can I ask you something that might feel a little bit uncomfortable? When was the last time you spoke kindly to yourself? Not to a friend, not to your partner, not to your children, to yourself. Because one thing I've noticed, both in the women that I work with and in my own experience, that somewhere in midlife, our inner voice often changes. The standards become higher, the patience becomes shorter, and the compassion that we offer to everybody else often disappears when we look in the mirror. We tell ourselves we should be coping better, we should be more organised, we should be able to juggle everything. And if we can't, we assume we've somehow become less capable. If you've been having those thoughts, I'd like to gently challenge them today, because I don't think the problem is that you're not enough. I think the problem is that you've been measuring yourself against a set of standards that no longer apply at this stage of your life. I used to believe confidence was something you either had or you didn't. If I felt unsure of myself, I assumed I'd lost confidence. But over time, I realised something very different. The days where I felt less confident weren't usually the days when I was least capable. They were the days when I felt exhausted, when I'd slept badly, when I'd been making decisions for everybody else, when my mind had been racing since the moment I woke up. In other words, what I called low confidence was actually mental depletion. That was a huge shift for me, because instead of trying to fix my personality, I started paying attention to my capacity. Let's think about how we respond when a close friend is struggling. Imagine she's telling you she's looking after aging parents, managing a demanding job, supporting her family, all at the same time, sleeping really badly and feeling emotionally depleted. Would you look at her and say, well, you're just not trying hard enough? Of course you wouldn't. You'd probably tell her she's carrying an enormous amount of stuff. You'd encourage her to be kinder to herself. You'd remind her that she's only human. So why is it that we find it so much easier to offer everybody else so much compassion, but we find it so hard to turn it on ourselves? Part of the answer is that many of us have created our identity around being the capable one, the dependable one, the one who always manages, the one who never lets anyone down. And for years, that identity may have served us well. But midlife has a way of asking difficult questions, not because it's trying to break us, but because it's inviting us to stop measuring our worth on how much stuff we can carry. So here's something to think about. Notice the language you use when something goes wrong. Say, I'm so stupid, I've completely lost it, I can't do anything right, or perhaps I should be able to cope better. Now imagine replacing those statements with curiosity. Instead of what's wrong with me, try asking, what do I need right now? It's a surprisingly simple question, but it changes everything. It moves you from judgment to understanding, from criticism to care. And that doesn't make you weaker, it helps you become wiser. One of the things I love about the human brain is that it responds to repetition. The words we hear most often become the stories we believe. So if every day you're telling yourself that you're failing, your brain starts looking for evidence to prove you right. But if you start speaking to yourself with the kindness that you offer to everybody else that you love, your brain will start to feel safer. And when the brain feels safer, it thinks more clearly, it solves problems more efficiently, and it recovers more easily from stress. Self-compassion isn't soft, it's a biological resource. So here's my invitation for you. The next time your inner critic starts talking, pause, take one slow breath, and ask yourself, would I say this to someone I love? If the answer is no, then don't say it to yourself either, because the relationship you have with yourself matters, perhaps more than any other relationship you will ever have. If today's conversation has resonated with you, I invite you to download my free guide, Why Your Brain Feels Different in Midlife and What to Do About It. You'll find the link in the description below. And if you've enjoyed today's conversation, I'd love you to subscribe to the channel. In the next episode, we're going to explore one of the biggest myths that I see in high achieving women, that during midlife, the solution is to keep pushing harder. Until then, be kind to yourself as you be kind to someone you love. You deserve nothing less.